This lecture is on stress, and so I always say it's a good time to talk about it, but I guess all of us live under a lot of stress. And when I talk about stress, really all day long today, I want to talk about this mind-body link. And that's where this old school word psychosomatic comes from, because if you remember psyche, the mind, soma, the body, and so anyway, I want to talk about this link today. I talk a lot about it in my religion class too. CDC, got this a few years ago, said that 85% of all illness in the United States is related to stress. It's not that it causes it, but it does contribute as a factor. So that's huge. Now, if I can, when I talk about stress, I stole this from the recovery world, but they always say that, whatever addiction is a disease. And if you notice when I'm saying disease, I'm saying it with a Z's instead of dis-ease. If you break the word apart in half, it really says dis-ease. And what's that dis-ease? Your mind, psyche, and then your body gets the disease part, the disease. The dis-ease causes the disease. So that's the whole thing. Now, stressors, I have a definition here, are stimuli. Remember, that's things that are perceived as challenging or threatening. So that's in the eye of the beholder. It's different for me than it is for you. But in the first world, we have all these kind of stressors over here, you know what I mean? Whereas in the third world, we have different kind of stressors. Okay, and so some of our stressors can be daily hassles, like I'm pointing out over here, and other stressors can be big major events, like if I were to talk about PTSD, there's a T right here, a traumatic event. Now, you don't have to remember this for the test, but Holmes and Rahe in the 60s made this famous scale, and so they rank ordered the most stressful events. I only put some of them on here. I don't know why death of a child is not number one, but anyway, they rank ordered them from low to high, and they said if you get a score of 300 plus, you would get sick or something. None of this you have to remember, but they try to talk about stressors, but if you look at some of them are good things. Well, maybe Christmas, a vacation, outstanding personal achievement. So sometimes those things are stressful as well. Okay, so anyway, let me get on to talk about is how stressors cause us energy. You didn't have to take my class to know that. You know what I mean? When you get stressed out, you get a lot of physical energy. But this comes back to the first of the class. A lot of physical energy is called sympathetic arousal, right? The Walter Cannon fight or flight, where does it come from? When we get this kickstart from our adrenaline system, for lack of a better term. Remember over here, the parasympathetic is all about being calm. Okay, so we're going to talk about sympathetic because we're charged up in energy, and it really this place of high energy right here, like I said, which we perceive as negative, and this is where stress lives right here. Okay, this is known as Selye's curve or the general adaptation syndrome. I don't really remember this piece, GAS, but Selye's curve has three parts. This little red part of the curve is energy over here. Now, energy and immunity have an inverse relationship. Anytime your energy goes down, your immunity actually goes up. So energy goes down right here, immunity goes up. Now let me get all this drawing off of here. The first stage is called the alarm phase. I call it the oh shit phase. If I'm hiking, I look over and there's a mountain line. It's like, oh shit, there's a mountain line right over there. It has happened to me. And so anyway, that's what fight or flight was designed for. You know what I mean? You get a lot of adrenaline. You can either run, fight, do whatever, but it's for a short time period. That's the first phase. The second phase of Selye's curve is called the resistance phase. I call it the I got this phase. Excuse me. So this resistance phase is when your energy is dropping, right? I calm down. Think of it like that. When I calm down, my immunity starts to go up. Now let me get a lot of this drawn off here again. And so the third phase is when you've been dealing with a stressor for a long period of time, right? And finally, your body breaks down over here and you get sick because the energy has been here for a long time. Not on day one, on day, 58 is when you start to get sick. You're a student, so they've done a lot of studies with students, and especially med school students. But on day one, you might get all your syllabi and you have a oh shit moment. Oh shit, look at all this stuff I've got to do. And you're going to have to deal with that, not for 30 minutes like with the bear, for 16 weeks. And so in the middle here, you might like have a calm down where it's like, okay, I've got this. That's that resistance phase. And then finally, towards the end, the stress of the whole semester, it's coming up right now, and everything starts to break you down. And so on campuses where they can like track how many people come to the medical center or to see the nurse, the school nurse, not a lot of people come on day one or week three. Some people do. But a lot of people come right around finals or right after finals time. Why? Because you've been dealing with the bear for so long, and now your immune function is no good. Now, what they call, I have this on here, is immunosuppression. Suppress. I push my immune function down. I do it with my mind because this is the psycho part again, right up here. I should have used a different color pen. And this is the somatic part, right? It's like my mind is pushing my immune function down. Specifically, if you remember, you might not want to remember the hypothalamus and pituitary, but the hypothalamus and pituitary, remember, master gland and also thermostat, send messages to my other glands, and the adrenal glands have these little things right here that sit near our kidneys. These are our adrenal glands, and they produce adrenaline, of course, and a lot of other substances, but that targets various tissues like my lungs, my breathing, my blood flow, right? All kinds of other stuff. And now that gets me charged up, fight or flight. But once the bear's gone, I need to turn it off. Right? We talked about this feedback loop. Now the problem with like the student example is that's 16 weeks of it going on without coming off, right? Especially if you work and have all these other stressors, you have kids, and so I argue maybe your adrenal glands don't go off when they should. Specifically, it's not magic how it works. Stressors cause an increase in our adrenal glands, adrenaline, but the other one that's the big player is cortisol. It's known as the stress hormone. And when they track cortisol levels, when you have cortisol in your body for long periods of time, stress hormone, you have lower levels of white blood cells. So there's this inverse relationship. You could look at these two curves where the green is my white blood cells and the red is the cortisol. So when the cortisol is low, you see the white blood cell count is high and vice versa. This is science. This is very exciting because now stressors, which start in my mind, psycho, start causing somatic problems for me. Look at this. My mental reaction is really indirectly killing off my white blood cell count. Now, blood cells, and some of y'all are nursing students, there's all kinds of leukocytes, lymphocytes, this, that, and the other, but one of the kinds of lymphocytes they track most often are called T cells. And if I look at T cell counts between two different people, then I could say, oh, now I have a measure of your immunity scientifically. And so, or with cortisol, a measure of your stress. When I have these two measurements, now I can be biological about tracking people's stress. Favorite things to talk about is really secrets down here, and I'm fixing to get to that. But they've had all these other studies with like stressful events, grieving. If one person dies, like your spouse dies, it's like, oh my God, it's like you're under so much grief. There's a lot of studies about that, PTSD. But I want to talk about this big boy right here because this is what I like to talk about because of Freud. What they found is that carrying secrets is not only bad for your mind, but bad for your soma, your body. Found this James Pennebaker. James Pennebaker has been doing research for the last, whatever, 30 years. Maybe he's not doing it anymore. But basically what he does is he has two groups of people. Some people come in and are given a piece of paper and a pen and say, here, on this piece of paper, I want you to write your deepest, darkest secrets you would never want anybody to know. And then another group is that you just sit here. They don't know about the other people, right? Okay, they just want to match these people to see what happens if you don't do it. Now, what they do is they track both groups over the next several years for their health. And they can measure all kinds of things like T cells, right? Cortisol levels, doctor visits. I don't want to write all this stuff down, but they can track a bunch of different stuff. How many medications you're on, quality of life, blah, blah, blah. What they find, something magic, is that people that write about their secrets are healthier than people that don't. Physically healthier. That's crazy. And it's not just once, he does it a bunch of times. And here's the craziest part of it. When you're done with your secret, he says, oh, I don't want to see it. Just go put it right over here in the shredder, if I can write on here, and shred it so nobody sees it. So the only person that ever sees it is you. So this says huge things about therapy and also journaling and whatever. You know, I'm a so when I say you're only as sick as your secrets, now I'm talking about being physically and spiritually sick. Because so basically, if you unlock secrets, you unlock more than just this psychological dilemma that you're in. Now, there is this famous thing called Post Secret. It started off as a book right here where this lady, I think it was, would get you to mail in your secrets on a postcard, but don't put your name on it. And then she posted them on or put them all into a book and compiled them. But now there's a website that's been around for a while called Post Secret, and you anonymously post the deep, dark secret out there. The idea is it liberates you. It liberates you from this psychological and physical dilemma. Okay, so hopefully I'm making sense. If you were in my religion class, I'd go into it in a lot more detail, but basically this is called immuno enhancement, not suppression, because you're boosting your immune system by letting go of the secret. Now, there's a lot of other research that shows that your mental reaction can also actually lead to, I should say, a higher immunity, not a lower immunity. For instance, research on optimists right here. I need to get a different color pen. Optimists right here, are healthier than pessimists. They just are scientifically, you know what I mean? They have better immune function. They go to the doctor less. They heal faster. All this other kind of stuff. You can go look it up. And the thing is, it's not just like whatever, oh, I'm happy and so blah, blah, blah. There is a direct link between their mindset and their body right here. I'm getting too many colors of pens going on here. Okay, so if I finish up with this, there's this lady, I talk about her in my religion class. She's kind of famous and controversial because it seems kind of like, what a bunch of new age woo woo. But anyway, Louise Hay says every single physical ailment you have, like if your foot hurts, there's some kind of psychological reason going on. And so that's kind of far-fetched, but I kind of believe in it. And so if you look over here, let's say if you have acne, she says right here, it's because you don't accept yourself, and as soon as you accept yourself, it'll go away. And it's like, I don't know if I believe in that, you know what I mean? Or if like, whatever, I have abdominal cramps and like my stomach hurts, if I just let go, then all of a sudden everything will flow better. It's so silly. So I swear to God, one day I wish I was in class right now. I was looking up, I don't know if it was in this book, it might have been another book, but it's a similar idea. And I was having a lot of tooth pain right up in here. I've actually had to have $10,000 worth of surgery right up in here. And so I was right in the middle of all of it. It's like, why the fuck am I having this? Might as well just look it up. And I look it up, and I swear to God, when I look up in this book, it says unresolved fatherhood issues. It's like, God damn it, I'm going to throw this book in the trash. What a piece of junk, you know what I mean? But anyway, take that for what it's worth. But the idea that your mind and spirit is connected to your physical ailments is huge. Okay, you don't have to remember this section for the test, but this next section I talk about three things that actually lower your energy and increase your immune function: prayer, meditation, and forgiveness. All take energy down instead of increasing energy. That means immunity goes up, if you can see that over there, which is immunoenhancement. prayer and meditation, white blood cell count. I have some white blood cells over here. It's like they have, I don't want to like get into all the studies I could show them, but prayer and meditation calm you down, decreased adrenal gland activity. You don't have as much cortisol, adrenaline floating around in your body, and so you're calmer, more parasympathetic. And that parasympathetic, activity or low energy activity increases your white blood cell count. Why? Because you don't have as much cortisol around. Okay, so faith or fear. If I live in fear all the time, then I'm actually unhealthier. I don't want to get into atheism versus theism, but one of the ideas about theism that I do like to talk about, even if it's all bullshit, that people that believe in God just go, oh, everything's going to work out. It's all a part of God's plan. God's going to take care of me. All those things calm you down. Versus if I'm just an existentialist atheist, this is why I can't like read a bunch of Nietzsche. I start going, oh shit, nothing means anything and I've got to do everything and everything's just meaningless, and so that freaks me out. And so if we were in my other class, I talk about one of the roles of faith is to calm people down psycho and somatically, both your mind and body. I mean, Karl Marx does say religion is the opium of the people. Anyway, this is something from, I forgot I had this on here, from my friend Robert. Robert died several years ago. He was a biker and got accidentally killed. But anyway, he was one of my, spiritual gurus that I would go to. One time I was having a really hard time and he told me this, Tim, in the end, everything works out for the good. And it's like, I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that. Sometimes I don't even believe it right now. And I remember the voice of Robert echoing in my head. And he says this, Tim, if it's not good right now, it's just not the end. If it's not good for you right now, it's just not the end of your story. Just hang in there, just like Mr. Rogers said. So I'm going to talk about forgiveness, something I need to work on. It's hard to forgive because if you're not forgiving, you're unforgiving. Basically, I have a little white blood cell down here. It increases scientifically your adrenal gland activity. Why? Because you're mad as a motherfucker all the time. It's like, God damn it. This is me. I get mad at people too much and hold grudges and do this, that, and the other because I feel like I've been wronged. And like the only thing it does, it starts killing me because I'm killing off my white blood cell count down here. And so I have this quote, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that it was you the whole time. The other person doesn't care about it as much. Like if you look at it, I can look back at my pain from the past and honor it and release it, and now I can move forward. But this is my bugaboo because like my cupboard, I hold on to it too much and I identify myself as my cupboard where I grew up, and you're not where you grew up. That's just where you grew up. That's not who you are. Just like if I take a saguaro to Flagstaff, it doesn't make it a new plant. And so I have to honor the past and understand this is how I had to come through the world, but also move forward with it. Okay, so I have these quotes about perpetrators because I get so mad because it's just not right. You know what I mean? It's like it says right here, forgiveness is not about letting the bag off the hook. It's about taking the hook out of your own heart. Oh my God, that's hard to look at. The other one, T.D. Jakes says, is I think the first step is to understand that forgiveness does not exonerate the perpetrator. It liberates the victim. Tim. So, say about this comes from the AA Big Book. It's the resentment prayer. I usually tell this story right here. I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but it's hard to tell. I remember one Christmas, one of my worst Christmases, I was dating this girl at the time I was really in love with, and she came to me a few days before Christmas and says, Tim, I've been cheating on you the whole time that we've been going out. I don't know how to tell you this, but I accidentally got pregnant, and I didn't know if it was his or yours, and so I just had an abortion, but I'm leaving you now. And that's the last time I talked to her. I was so mad. I was so hurt and mad, and it was Christmas time, and I don't know anybody. And so I had the big resentment. I go back to Robert, same guy that told me the other thing. He says, Tim, go to the big book and start doing the resentment prayer. And it's like, what does this mean? He says, well, I want you to pray every night for this girl. And this is the prayer I want you to pray. That she gets what you want. Like she gets that baby in that house and gets to be happily married and gets to go to places that you don't get to go to. I want you to pray for her health, her prosperity, her happiness, and I'll be free. It's like, what do you mean? Even when you don't want to do it, Tim, I want you to pray every single day, over and over and over, that her dreams will come true, not yours. I didn't understand it. And I just pray it every day because I believe in Robert and I knew that he was a great guy. And he says for 2 weeks. It's like, well, I just did it for like probably 6 months. And then eventually, I came to a place where I realized that I really wanted her to be happy. I really did hope she was happily married and had the kid that we didn't have and had every single thing. And I really meant it because that is the meaning of love. It's just the meaning of love. I don't know how to say it any other way. You either love the person or you don't. Okay, I hope you liked this part of the lecture, but I'm going to move on to the very last section now. Okay, this last area is very easy. Back in the 1970s, I think it was the 1970s, they started studying something called type A personalities. Really, it was versus type B was the distinction right here. So type A are very aggressive. They feed off of stress. They actually like stressful situations and put a lot of pressure on themselves. You might know these people. Type Bs are more mellow. I have Winnie the Pooh over here. It's like everything's cool. Just chill out. It's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? And so type A's, I usually use coaches as an example. I want my coach to be type A. If he's too type B, it's like, dude, do something. You know what I mean? We're losing the game. I want you to yell at somebody, scream at somebody. And if you think about a lot of coaches, they like to be up there all the time. Think about Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, all these, even Jim Harbaugh. They put all this pressure upon themselves. And so that's not good for their health. Okay, type Bs are a lot healthier, and certain cultures are type B. Think about Latino cultures having siestas. Why people don't have siestas? We have work to do. We got to work, 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 work as Americans. So American culture is different. So type A are prone to more health problems and specifically heart problems down here. Why? Because they've always stressed out, always mad and angry. They've got themselves ramped up, high cortisol levels. They're killing off their white blood cells, all this different stuff that I just talked about. So, psyche, their mindset is killing off their body. Dis-ease is causing disease. Okay, last little thing I usually talk about is type C. You don't have to remember this, but it's a new type I like to talk about. Type Cs seem like they're type Bs. Why? Because they're real quiet. But underneath the surface, they're real stressed out and anxious. Do you know what I'm talking about? So, if Cs are just as unhealthy as type A's are. See, type A's, the coach is unhealthy, but he's displaying it. He's just like spewing it out and getting angry. Like, I think about Will Ferrell in certain movies where he just screams and yells, you know what I mean? But type C is just like taking it all in. That's Thanatos, out, in, if you remember this stuff. And so they are taking it all in, all the depression, anxiety, and just not telling anybody about it, just coping with it alone. And that's just as unhealthy as spewing it all out. And see, type B's, it's like, dude, just chill out. And sometimes I think you're born one of these three ways, and other times maybe you learn this. But anyway, I hope that makes sense for the test. Just remember the difference between type A's and type B's here: high stress, low stress. I'll see y'all next time.